Hey guys, what's up? My name is Matt Bernardo. I'm the owner of Bernardo's Training in Ocean Township, New Jersey, where we specialize in building the middle school and high school athlete. So we see hundreds of athletes every year come through our doors. We've been in business for over a decade. Most of our athletes have had enormous success, but there's always those few athletes that slip through the cracks that make crucial mistakes. So this video, and thank you for subscribing to this video, is going to be the 6 mistakes to avoid with your youth athletes if you want them to have the best careers possible. Okay, so mistake number 1, only exposing your athlete to one sport, playing one sport year-round. This is a huge mistake, and it's a huge problem right now, especially more than ever, because coaches, especially travel coaches, are demanding that their athletes play a certain sport year-round. Whether I see it in football, I see it in wrestling, I see it in baseball, I see it in basketball. A lot of my athletes complain to me because the coach wants them to play baseball in the winter and they want to play basketball, or they just want to have some time off. It's a huge mistake, and I feel bad for the parents that fall into this trap of forcing one sport year-round on their youth athlete. The problem with doing this is it's multifold. 1, they're not developing a broad spectrum of overall athletic skills, which hurts them in the long run, because when they get older, the kids who have more athletic skills will be able to take their chosen sport to a higher level, both technically and in terms of college recruiting, just going from different levels, from middle school to high school to college. They'll be able to take their sports to a higher level than the kids who have a less broad spectrum of athletic skills. 2, burnout and overuse is huge. I know I personally got burnt out by baseball when I was younger, and I didn't even play it year-round. I was only playing it spring, summer, and maybe fall. But it burnt me out. I wound up quitting. I see it all the time. Kids quit a sport that they're very good at. It's probably their best sport, but they're just burnt out from it. Too much of one thing is no good. So you got burnout and you got overuse injuries. So the overuse injuries start to occur. They don't happen at a very young age, but as the child develops and starts to get up into the middle school years, 6th, 7th, they start to see a lot in 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade. They start to develop overuse injuries because they're constantly doing the same repetitive motion over and over and over again. I see it mostly in baseball. I see it in basketball a little bit with the pounding on the hardwood floor. I see it in runners, and I see it in wrestling. Kids that try to wrestle year-round, a lot of tournaments year-round, their bodies aren't just, your body's not meant, it's not built to handle a contact sport year-round. Their shoulders and their hips start to develop a lot of problems from just the pounding on the mat of a contact sport. Be smart, don't fall prey to the year-round, one sport year-round stuff that's going on now. Many times young kids will have a little advantage over the kids the same age when they're younger, if they're playing a single sport year-round, because their technical skills are going to be a little bit better, obviously, because they're doing it year-round. But as the kids start to catch up, as they get older, as high school starts to come around, they get passed by kids that have better athletic skills who are taking that sport now to another level. So mistake number 1 is one sport year-round. Okay, so mistake number 2, not using a long-term approach to athlete development. I see this mistake a lot where coaches and even parents are more worried about a 10-year-old state champion and not thinking about how can I make my kid a state champion at 17, 18? How can I get them into college? How can I get them to peak at the right time, not when they're 10? And you got to think of developing an athlete as building a pyramid. So the pyramid can only be as high as the base is wide. If they're not being exposed to a lot of different things at a young age, the pyramid is not going to be as high when they're older. And that kind of goes back to what we talked about in number 1, and not exposing them to a lot of different sports. It's the same with their training. You need to expose them to a lot of different things and build a big base of what we call general physical preparedness. Expose them to a lot of different things, a lot of different movements, a lot of different types of training, a lot of different sports, and not putting pressure on them to be great at one thing when they're young. Otherwise, they get burnt out and hurt, and I see tons of kids have this happen to them. They're good athletes, they have great potential, to be a great wrestler, baseball player, whatever it is, and they get pushed too hard, too young. They don't get a good base underneath them, and then they kind of stall out when they're older. They stall out, other kids passing by. And so you gotta think of developing an athlete with the long term in mind, not the short term. Think 17, junior, senior year in high school, college, getting into college, enjoying it, and not focusing on being great when you're 10, 11, 12. Okay, so mistake number 3, which I see a lot of parents make, and especially in this day and age with YouTube and the internet, and all this information is so readily available at our fingertips, is trying to train youth athletes or amateur athletes like professional athletes or high-level elite athletes. This is a huge mistake, and I see a lot of kids get injured this way. And again, it piggybacks off of number 2 and not having a long-term approach to the athlete's development. Everyone's in a rush and they want to be satisfied right now. And they want Johnny to be great at this moment. You have to be patient with youth athletes, and you have to let them develop at their own pace. You can't force it. You can't force development. It'll happen. So with number 3 is you can't copy what other elite level and guys who've been training, the professional athletes, they've been training for a decade or a decade and a half or more. Like if a guy's 30 or 28 and he's in the NFL, he's probably been training since he was 15, 13, God knows. He got 15 years or more training experience underneath his belt. So to try and copy the stuff that they're doing is a huge mistake. You have to be patient, and you have to let the athlete develop, and you have to be patient, let them develop, build the base. You gotta build a huge base of general preparedness, and again, the pyramid will be higher at the end. So you can't force it. Don't try to copy what the pros are doing. It's a huge mistake. Okay, so mistake number 4 is going to be laying a poor foundation of nutritional habits. This is a huge subject. Nutrition, sports nutrition is huge, but I want you guys to know that this all starts at home at a young age. Parents set the example. Parents buy their kids the food. Parents decide what their kids are gonna eat. Yes, maybe a parent doesn't decide exactly what a high school kid is gonna eat every meal a day, but they know what they're gonna eat at home because they buy it. And from the moment they're born until the moment they become teenagers, you're feeding the kids, you're setting the example, and you could set your kid apart from the rest and have a much greater chance of developing a better athlete if you feed them whole nutritious foods. Unprocessed, so you gotta stay away from processed foods, and you don't need to get away, you don't really need to get into the micros, the macros, the calorie counting, all that type of stuff. If you just generally feed your kid healthy food and get them to like to eat healthy, you will be rewarded tenfold with performance, with athletic performance. I see it all the time, and parents, it's one of the things that parents always ask me for. Can you work with my kid on nutrition? Can you work with my kid on nutrition? And I see it with kids. Kids eat a lot of garbage, they can't recover between workouts. They're more winded, they don't perform as well. I see kids start to clean up their diets, and I know they're eating better. I could tell. They have more energy, they attack their workouts, they have more intensity during their workouts, they recover quicker between workouts and between sets. It's a it's a noticeable difference. I could tell right away whether the kid's eating good or not, getting enough sleep and things like that. So laying the foundation of good eating habits is crucial. And just remember that optimal health precedes optimal performance. So the healthier a human being is, the greater the chance of them performing at a higher level athletically. Okay, so mistake number 5 is not training dynamically and maximally. So this is gonna apply more to athletes as they get older. They've already developed that base. This isn't for like 10, 11, 12-year-olds. These are more like 8th grade, 9th grade, getting into high school age kids. It's crucial that they train both maximally and dynamically. So what that means is I drew this force velocity curve to explain to you how important it is to both train for maximum effort and for dynamic effort, which would be as we work our way down this curve here. This is the force velocity curve. This is force, this is velocity. The faster a movement gets, the less force it has. The more force a movement has, the less velocity it has. Just think of lifting a really heavy weight. That usually happens pretty slow. That's called maximum effort. That's to develop absolute strength, and that is crucial. You have to be very strong. You have to have absolute strength and maximal strength. It's also crucial as an athlete to be explosive and to be fast, right? And to have power. As we do things that are faster, like sprinting is about the fastest thing that you could do, highest velocity thing you could, movement you could do, it has very little force. Force is not involved so much in sprinting. Accelerating, yes, but not top end speed sprinting. You need to be working every point along the force velocity curve, because the ultimate goal is to truly develop a strong, fast, explosive athlete, is to move this force velocity curve up and to the right. Right? And the only way to do that is to improve maximum effort, and you work down would be speed, strength. That would be like things like lifting sub-maximal weights at maybe at about 70% with maximal speed, fast bar speed. In the middle is gonna be maximum power. So max power is the middle of maximum effort and maximum velocity. If you think about the best way to describe this would be throwing a ball. If you threw a really heavy ball, it wouldn't go that far, right? That's more maximum effort. If you threw a wiffle ball, it's really fast, but doesn't go that far. If you threw a baseball at a window, you could really knock that window out, right? Because that's your maximum, that's that sweet spot, max power. Explosive strength is one step below sprinting. That's crucial to improve that. That's jumping. Okay, and then sprinting is sprinting. That's the highest speed you can go. We need to be improving all these along this in order to become the fastest, strongest, most explosive athlete that we could become. A lot of kids, a lot of athletes, coaches and parents mess this up because they only train one. A lot of kids, they only sprint. They're good at sprinting, but they only sprint, and then their downfall is they're not strong maximally. A lot of kids are really into the weights. They hit those weights and they get pretty strong and big, but they don't do enough speed work. In terms of power, is gonna suffer. Either one of those kids, they're not gonna have good power and explosive strength because they're lacking in one area or the other, and you can't. So mistake number 5 would be not training both maximally and dynamically. Okay, so mistake number 6 would be not exposing your athlete to a culture with other hardworking, committed athletes just like you want them to be. The reason why I feel like our gym is special, and I'm sure other places have this going as well, so this is not just us, but I feel like what separates us apart from most training facilities is our culture. We're full of guys from 10 years old to professional athletes that are trying to make each other better. They're all committed to their goal to being the best athlete they could possibly be. Just being exposed to that type of culture is priceless. You can't get that anywhere else. It takes kids from here and it elevates them automatically just by being exposed to that culture. It makes them more committed, it makes them more confident, it makes them more determined, more hardworking. All the things you want to have in a good athlete, all the traits you want your son or daughter to have, it almost forces them to develop those traits because they're exposed to it. They either have to have it. If they don't, they're gonna be left behind. You notice I'm standing here next to this banner that I had made for this office. I'm proud of all these guys. I love this banner because it kind of shows what our gym is all about. These guys are working their tails off. There's groups of guys that are just brothers and teammates, and they can even be rivals. We have kids here who come that are rival wrestlers, state qualifiers, national level wrestlers that are the same weight, and they push each other. They support each other, but they push each other. It's competitive, and it just pushes them to the next level, really pushes them to be the best they can be. And if you're not exposing your athlete to some type of culture like this, you're missing out, and you're doing your athlete a disservice. Okay, so that wraps up the 6-part video series on a lot of mistakes that parents and coaches make in developing youth athletes. You got this video series because you were on our website and you were looking for training services for your son or daughter. If you're still interested in training, if you think we're a good fit, if you think that we can help your son and daughter, if you want to be exposed to this type of culture, down below, fill out the free trial form. Let's get your son or daughter in for a free trial. Let's see what they need to become the best athletes they could possibly be. If not, I wish you the best on your journey in your athletic career. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. You can email me at bernardostraining@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to get back to you in a timely manner. Thank you.